I am Grace Curley. I am your host, and I'm so excited about this next guest. I want to get right into it. You guys probably know Janice Dean as the meteorologist from Fox News. She is always upbeat, always lovely, and always brings, the brighter side of the news because she's usually outside with a lot of the fans at Fox, and it's fun, and it's pretty lighthearted. But in recent months, Janice has become an advocate for not just New Yorkers, but really anyone who has lost someone during this pandemic. Thank you so much for joining us, Janice.
Grace, it's so nice to talk to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Janice, I want to get into your piece. But first, because I wrote a story this weekend about Andrew Cuomo, so I sent it to Janice because I knew that she would retweet it for me. And she messages me back and she says, I have something coming out on Andrew Cuomo. I did not realize, I thought it was just going to be, a little blurb, maybe 600 words. This could be a book. I feel like you were just getting started when you wrote this piece.
I was just getting started, and it really kind of began because over the Christmas holidays, I was in touch with, I've met a lot of family members in the same boat that have lost loved ones and don't exactly love Governor Cuomo and what he's done over the past 9 months, especially with his mandate of putting COVID-positive patients in the nursing homes for 46 days. But I was in touch with a senior official with the Justice Department who basically said to me that their investigation, they have an investigation into Cuomo and the numbers, because the numbers that Governor Cuomo gives us of total number of seniors that died in nursing homes is wrong. And it's false because he does not count, and New York State is the only state that does not count those who died in the hospital but got the COVID-19 virus from their elder care facilities, like my mother-in-law. So I heard from this official from the Justice Department that basically said, we contacted the administration in October for information, trying to get those numbers, which are absolutely undercounted, and they have given us nothing. So this governor thinks he is above the law, thinks he is above the largest investigative unit in the land. And that's what sort of, I thought, if I'm going to write something, I'm going to go to the very beginning of this in March, early March, when he was more worried about the vaping crisis than he was coronavirus. Like, he was saying, oh, the fear is worse than the actual virus. And oh, my goodness, he actually said the flu is worse than the coronavirus. And then all of a sudden it was like, one day he said, oh, no, we're not going to shut down New York State. And then the next day he shuts down New York State. Then he's talking about Matilda's Law, named after his mom, Matilda, how he was going to take care of the elderly and protect our seniors because the virus could be spread like fire through dry grass. Well, 5 days later, he introduced his order that was in place for 46 days to put COVID into nursing homes.
Now, Janice, I want people to understand, because I know that you've pretty much stayed out of politics to a certain degree during your career, but this really hit home for you. And I'm sure it's a hard story for you to tell, but I think it really makes a mark with people, and they remember this. Your in-laws were they both died from COVID in a New York nursing home, correct?
Two separate elder care facilities. His dad was in rehab. We had to get him in better health to join his mom, my husband's mom, Dee, in her assisted living residence. So he was there to get healthier to join her down the line on Long Island. We had a double room for them. Long story short, their health was failing them. So we wanted to put them in a place where they would be cared for 24/7. And then as his dad was trying to get better, COVID happened. He died first, unfortunately, at the end of March. We didn't even know he was sick because we were under quarantine. We weren't able to see him. And we got a call on a Saturday morning saying he was ill. And 3 hours later, we get a call saying he died. And we didn't even find out he had died of coronavirus until we saw the death certificate. And his mom had not seen his father. My husband had to give the news to his mom. And she got coronavirus in her assisted living facility, was transported to the hospital, died in the hospital, where, it took her life 2 weeks later.
And Janice, I want to get back to the numbers here with the COVID in New York. But first, I have to talk a little bit about the parts in this article that are really mind-boggling to a lot of people, which is Governor Andrew Cuomo. He's not just getting a slide from the mainstream media. It's not like they're ignoring, some of the bad things that he's done. they're giving him trophies and they're really laying it on thick. And I think it makes a lot of people feel like they're losing their minds. Not only is this guy completely inept, but he's being applauded for it by the press.
It's unbelievable. The book, when I found out he was writing a book, I couldn't believe it. But then before the book, there was a COVID poster that he sold. It was like a cartoon poster that he commissioned where he put all the things that he loved about himself on it, like his dog and his family. And then there was like a shout out to his brother, Chris, and that terrible interview that they did while body bags are piling up in storage facilities where they've got this big prop of a Q-tip going up the governor's nose. I mean, it's been nonstop. And like early on in the pandemic, when hospitals were complaining of mask shortages, he comes out with this, coronavirus mask wall. I mean, it's been nonstop. And then, of course, the Emmy Award and then the Ted Kennedy Award. I mean, I feel like I'm in some kind of bizarre, movie.
Yeah, and you do get the sense the Cuomo brothers, you mentioned this in your story, that they think they're really funny and they think everyone's really lucky to watch them. And I like what you said here. You said the whole Cuomo family was suddenly in our lives. The governor's daughters appear during his daily briefings. The Cuomo brothers' comedy hour on CNN was must-see TV, and his mom Matilda was getting a law named after her. There's a lot of arrogance in this family, and there's very little self-awareness.
You're absolutely right. And, to put that piece together was just it was like this building block of craziness, that we've gone through this in 9 months. And instead of getting answers and accountability for these fatal decisions this governor made, it just kept getting worse. He was like the anointed king of governorship, he was America's governor. He was going on all these talk shows like ABC and NBC and the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and they were talking about his love life and what a great governor he was. Meanwhile, we've lost more seniors than 3 times 9/11.
And Janice, they were talking about who he's dating. Why won't he date Chelsea Handler? He was wearing that leather bomber jacket, and all the people were making videos about how handsome he was. And the whole time I'm thinking, is anyone reading the news or the statistics or anything? How is this guy becoming like America's sexiest man during this pandemic?
I think he wants to be a celebrity. I think that's probably what he's wanted to be, like him and his brother, Chris. Mm-hmm. And if they want to be in Hollywood, by all means, Governor, pack your bags and move to Hollywood and become a celebrity, just like Robert De Niro, your buddies, and Rosie Perez and Chris Rock. And you know what? Put somebody in power that actually wants to govern over a state and protect the people they represent, because this governor has done anything but.
And one question you bring up in this story, and by the way, guys, I'm tweeting it out from my account. We're talking to Janice Dean from Fox. You said one of the questions I've never seen the governor asked is why he never used the patient overflow facilities that the federal government provide in New York. And that's really true. There was all of these huge makeshift hospitals, and he was sending patients back to nursing homes.
Correct. Over 6,000 of those patients, COVID positive patients, were put back into nursing homes, which he knew. There were quotes of him saying that this was going to be a tremendous danger. This was fire through dry grass. Instead of using those facilities that he screamed about that he needed from the president, like the Comfort Ship, like the Javits Center, like the other makeshift hospitals, they went virtually empty. And that's something that he's never answered to either.
And Janice, explain what happened in August when I remember a lot of people were excited because you were supposed to go to these hearings. You were going to get to say your piece, and then something happened.
I was supposed to. They had 2 hearings in August about the nursing home tragedy. They had Howard Zucker, the health commissioner, was going to be talked to and asked questions about, how many patients and how many people died, how many seniors died. They had lawmakers, and they were inviting relatives of someone who passed away tragically in a nursing home. And I was invited by a lawmaker, a Republican lawmaker, and he told me that I was on the list. I was going to, bring my story on the record to lawmakers. And all of a sudden, the Friday that I was supposed to receive the invitation, I never got it. And then when pressed, I was told that there was a Democratic lawmaker who said that my appearance was going to make others uncomfortable, and that's why my invitation was rescinded.
And Janice, I think part of the reason that people really are taking to your story in particular is because you are a really reasonable person and you're not overly harsh or overly political. And one thing you wrote in this that I want to read, you said, had the governor admitted his terrible decisions instead of making posters, plastic mountains, and coronavirus artwork, many of us would have forgiven him. Had he written condolence cards instead of books about leadership, I probably would not be speaking up on behalf of other grieving families. You were pushed to this point by just sheer rage, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Had he come out in the very beginning, Grace, and said, I made an absolutely terrible mistake. You know, I've never been through a pandemic before. I was trying to make sure that the hospitals had enough beds. I got bad advice from someone to put patients into nursing homes. I didn't realize the total number that were going into nursing homes. Had he done that, had he actually practiced the advice that he gives others about, owning up to your mistakes, that's what makes a good leader, we wouldn't be chatting right now. We would have accepted that and moved on. But the fact that he shoves it in our face by writing books and making money off of the thousands of New Yorkers that died and lying and covering up and thinking that he's above the law, that's why I'm so vocal. And by the way, I don't love this position that I'm in. I would rather be out there doing weather outside with my fans, but I owe it to my family and other families, the thousands of families that are silent, that don't have a voice, that I speak up on behalf of them.
And Janice, I follow you on Twitter. I love your tweets, but I do notice that. I notice that you don't really like being in this position where, you're getting tweets from people who are angry or think you're wrong or think whatever, but you're doing it because you know it's the right thing. It's not necessarily something you would have chosen to do, but you feel obligated. And I don't blame you. I think a lot of people are really counting on you to keep speaking up and keep being vocal. Janice, people are going to find this at foxnews.com, and they also can see it. I retweeted it from my Twitter account. But where can people follow you on Twitter?
I'm at Janice Dean, and I promise that, there's a lot of Cuomo shout out, but there are also, I will also put on, joke of the day, that I put lunchbox jokes into my kids' lunches every day, and I like to tweet out fun videos of cute dogs. So, I can't wait to the day that I get back to just being that mostly sunny meteorologist that you see on Twitter. But for the meantime, of course, I'm going to, try to be the best advocate that I can be for, my husband's parents who are no longer with us and the thousands of families that really need a voice out there to be heard. You're
doing a phenomenal job, Janice. Thank you so much for being with us. That was such a great first guest of the Grace Curley Show. I couldn't have picked anyone better. Guys, my friends at Eden Pure have done it again. Starting today, you can get the Thunderstorm air purifier at the lowest price offered to my listeners with code word GRACE. The Thunderstorm is available for under $90 and shipping is free. That's a really good deal. This New Year sale is for 1 week only and while supplies last. The Thunderstorm is a small device. You can hold it in your hand and plug it into the wall. It's no bigger than a cell phone charger to purify the air from any odor. So let's say you're in the office and Howie Carr cooks fish, or Jared Diglio, my producer, cooks Indian food. You don't want that air circulating. You want fresh air. You want it to smell like after a rainstorm. So that is when you take out your Thunderstorm. This could be pet odor, kitchen smells, tobacco, or that damp smell you may have in your basement. I hate that smell. No filters are needed, and units can start at other units, comparable units, can start at $600. We love them here in the office. Nauset Beach Inn loves them so much they put one now in every room. The Thunderstorm doesn't take up floor space and is quiet. Take advantage of this 1 week only sale and experience for yourself what all the listeners, Howie, and advertisers are raving about. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word GRACE. That's EdenPure.com, code word GRACE. And remember, shipping is free. I'm Grace Curley. This is The Grace Curley Show, and we'll be right back.